Hello everyone, welcome to JCE Connect. So in this session, we'll start with the pavement design concept. So here, pavement design is nothing but a highway pavement, which is a structure that consisting of superimposed layers. Right. So here in this particular pavement design, the different layers will come depends upon the types of the pavements. For example, here in the pavement we'll get two types of the pavements. First one is a flexible pavement, and second one is the rigid pavement. So depends upon this how exactly the layers will get forms, so which are the layers will be there and how we are going to construct those different layers, right? So each and everything we will study in this pavement design, and which are the design criterias we need to follow, and how exactly we need to maintain the those particular properties of the materials as well as the layers of these pavements. So in a particular highway, a pavement is a structure that consisting of superimposed layers of processed materials that above the natural soil subgrade. So there, that primary function is to distribute the applied vehicle loads to the subgrade. So here, the pavement structure should be able to provide a surface which is of acceptable riding quality, adequate skid resistance, and again the favorable ride reflecting characteristics, and even low noise pollutions. So this particular pavement, it should consisting of, it should follow a certain parameters. So based upon that, we are going to design a particular layers of the pavements. So here we'll start with the different types of pavements. So in this, you can see the pavements can be classified on the structural performance into two different categories. First one is flexible pavements and second one is rigid pavements. So in this flexible pavements, 1 minute. So in this flexible pavements, where the wheel loads which are transferred by grain to grain contact, so that is of the aggregate through the granular structure. So here the flexible pavement having less flexural strength but acts as a flexible sheet which is with made up of the bituminous road. So here flexible pavements is specially constructed by using the bitumen material, where the binding material that is bitumen, whereas the filler material that is coarse aggregate, right? But here the whatever the wheel loads will be there, so that wheel loads which are transferred by grain to grain contact, you can see the layers here, the different layers. This is a typical cross section of a flexible pavement. So here you can see at the top bottommost layer, that is, it start with the natural subgrade. This is natural subgrade, and then and on top of that you can see the compacted subgrade, and then on top of that again sub base course will be there, followed by base course, binder course, and at last surface course. Okay, but here whatever the load will get generate whatever the load will get generate on this surface course, so it is going to transfer by the surface course to the binder course. Then that binder course, it will transfer that entire load to the base course, and similarly to the sub base course, and then compacted subgrade, and finally it reaches that entire load of these top layers. It is going to transfer that entire load to the natural subgrade. Okay, so this is how that exact loading distribution can be done by using these different layers. And if you come with a rigid pavements, so here rigid pavements, where the wheel loads which are transferred from the subgrade soil by the flexural strength of the pavement, and the pavement acts as the rigid plate, that is, cement concrete roads. So here the whatever the surface course you can see here, so this entire surface course which is made up of the concrete, right? So concrete again, it is a mixture of a binding material such as cement and even the filler material, that is fine aggregate as well as the coarse aggregate, right? So we'll study one by one about these flexible pavements and rigid pavements. So here you can see about the cross sectional view of this flexible pavement. At bottommost layer you can see the natural formation that is made up of the natural subgrade. This is at the bottom layer, and here this particular natural subgrade, it is start with the, it will be with the bottommost first layer of a particular flexible pavement, and then on top of this you can see the formation level, that is exactly it should be level in its surface, and again on top of that you can see the sub base, right? See, most of the load, I mean the resistance of the loading capacities can be done by this sub base, and then the base course will be there so that it can be filled in base course, and then on top of that you can see the surface course and surface density, that is the leveling of this particular top surface, that is surface course. So here this flexible pavements which will transfer the wheel loads, I mean wheel load stresses to the lower layers, that is grain to grain transfers, right? I mean the grain to grain layers, it is going to transfer its entire load. So here the wheel load acting on the pavement, that will be distributed to a wider area, and whatever the stress will get developed here, so it is easily going to be transferred from one layer to the another layer. So here the wheel load acting on the pavements, that will be distributed to a wider area, and the stress decreases with the depth part here, and taking advantages of this stress distribution characteristics, the lower layer which will experience the lesser magnitude of the stress, and quality material can be used. And here in this flexible pavements which are constructed using the bituminous material, so as we have discussed, this top layer, I mean this surface course which is made up of the bituminous materials, and this can be either in the form of surface treatments, such as it is consisting of bituminous surface generally found on lower volume roads, or even we can see the asphalt concrete surface courses. I will tell you what is asphalt. So here asphalt is nothing but what, it is a mixture of aggregate, binder and filler, and this one it is used in the constructing as well as even it can be used in the maintaining of the roads, parking areas, railway tracks, ports, airports, like that, right? So here this asphalt concrete surface courses, they are generally used on the high volume roads such as national highways in there with a particular pavement layers. And again here the different types of flexible pavements also you can see, and before that we'll study about this rigid pavements. So here rigid pavements have sufficient flexural strength that to transmit the whole load stresses to a wider area. So here the major material of the surface course which is made up of concrete, and here this particular rigid pavement typical cross sections, it has been given here. So here you can see at the bottommost you can see the subgrade, I mean that is a natural subgrade, and then the next layer it is base or sub base course, and top layer that is made up of what, Portland cement concrete. So again this concrete, again they have given the specific thickness here, that is the Portland cement concrete depth will be 150 to 300 mm, whereas the base course or sub-base course thickness will be 100 to 300 mm. These dimensions and all, that is depends upon the total load which is going to be applied on that road surfaces, and based upon the several criterias they are going to design this thickness of these pavement layers. And here there is only one layer of the material between concrete and the subgrade, and this layer can be called as base or sub-base course. So you can see here, so only one layer you can see, that is sub-base course or base course. Usually in the rigid pavement, the load distributed by the slab action, and the pavement behaves like a elastic plate which is resting on a viscous medium rigid pavements, and they are constructed by the Portland cement concrete, and they should be analyzed by the plate theory instead of layer theory. So here it is going to be act as a plate concepts instead of the layer, because only three layers we can see in this rigid pavement. So in that, the topmost layer will be made up of this Portland cement concrete, whereas the middle layer we can call it as base or sub-base course, and the bottommost layer will be the natural subgrade. Here you can see one more diagram. So how exactly the layers have been formed in the rigid pavement. So this is a figure that shows the rigid pavement layers. So at the bottommost layer you can see the subgrade, that is the existing soil. So before starting this particular layers, we need to compact this well such that whatever the load will get generate from the top layers, it should be easily bearable. And on top of this you can see the sub-base course, that is only if it is in needed, then only we can place this sub-base course, or else directly we can go for base course, and on top of that the concrete slab will be there. So here the needful work of this sub-base course. So here that sub-base course which is only needed, that is because of the extra load, or that whatever the additional load will be there on top of that particular pavement layers, only in that cases we can provide this sub-base courses, and where the traffic vehicle, I mean the vehicle traffic will be more, so in that cases we can prefer this sub-base courses. And you can see the top layer that is made up of the concrete slab here. So here again you can see the different joints, that is longitudinal joints, and tied rigid shoulders, and here one more transverse joint. So this particular cross sectionals and all will study in the further part. So just in this particular concrete, this entire top layer which is made up of concrete, that is binding material, that is Portland cement, and then the major part of the concrete is filled with coarse aggregate as well as the fine aggregates, and this longitudinal joint and transverse joints just to transfer the loads easily on the below layers without causing any cracks on the concrete part, right? So we'll move further with the different types of rigid pavements. So in rigid pavements only we can see the different types here. In that, first one is joint plane concrete pavement. So in this joint plane concrete pavement, that is usually you can see in the diagram, so usually which is a plain cement concrete pavements that is constructed with closely spaced contraction joints. So here we can see the contraction joints in between the different concrete parts here, and they have given very well in this particular diagram. You can see the longitudinal joints as well as the transverse joints. So longitudinal joints are usually provided along the lengthwise of this particular road directions, and this transverse joints, they are going to provide with respect to width of this rigid pavement. And here even you can see the dowel bars, so that is depends upon the thickness, and here how exactly they are going to provide the thickness of this rigid pavement, everything they had given here. So jointed plain concrete pavement here. So in this rigid pavement, the first type is jointed plain concrete pavement. So usually this is a plain cement concrete and constructed with a closely spaced contraction joints. So here whatever the joints you can see, they are very nearer to each other, and here dowel bars or aggregates which interlocks are normally used for the load transfer across the joints. So here dowel bars, it is like the whatever the load will get generate on the top surfaces, it is easily going to be transferred from the bottom layers. And here these particular joints are normally having a spacing of 5 to 10 meter. So for every 5 to 10 meters we can see this particular joints at the concrete road, especially at the jointed plain cement plain concrete pavements. Here easily you can see this in this schematic representation. The first figure, it shows the top view, whereas this is side view, or even we can see that how exactly it has been formed within that sections. So here you can see the longitudinal joints, they are along the lengthwise of the roads, whereas the transverse joints, they are horizontal members. And here these particular joints, why they are going to provide in the sense, so at a particular section of the concrete it is going to be carry a certain load, so that major load whatever it will get generate, that is going to be transferred by using this longitudinal steel bars as well as this transfer joint sections. And here again you can see the dowels, so that whatever the stresses will get developed in this particular sections. So here you can see this marked one, so this is a dowel joint. So the load applied on this transverse joints, it is going to be transferred on the dowel, and then that entire dowel, it is going to transfer that entire load to the bottom layer. So like that they have provided the certain joints in the reinforcement sections. Here also you can see this, how exactly that dowel will get works with respect to the load distribution part. And here you can see the dimensions, I mean the distance between one transfer joint to the another transfer joint, that is 3.7 to 6.1 meter. So these all things which will get depends on the design concepts of this rigid pavements. And moving to the next type, that is joint reinforced concrete pavement. So here this joint reinforced concrete pavements, you can see the so many reinforcements here. So in all the cases, the reinforcements which do not improve the structural capacity significantly, so they can drastically increase the joint spacing to 10 to 30 meter. And here the dowel bars which are provided for the load transfer, that reinforcements which is help to keep the slab together even after the cracks. So here if some cracks got developed within these sections, so easily it can be bear up by the additional reinforcements such as the dowel bars and all. So here you can see the dowel bars. So whatever the load will get developed on this wire joints, that one in black color what you can see, so that load which is going to transfer on this dowel bar, so that is indicated by the green color, right? So this particular load it is which is going to apply on these members in this particular way. And here they have given the distance from one transfer joint to the another transfer joint, that is up to 27 to 45 feet. And coming to the next part, that is here you can see the joint reinforced concrete pavement. So how exactly they are going to provide the reinforcements in the field, right? So you can see the dowel bars here and even the transfer joints. So here whatever you can see here at the middle section here, so it's like the transfer joints. And this the long length what you can see here, so this long length steel bars are nothing but the longitudinal bars. And here whatever you can see with the horizontal part here, so this horizontal joints are nothing but transverse joints, right? And next, continuous reinforced concrete pavement. So here in this section, it's like the constructing of a slab. So in the slab, how we are going to provide the reinforcements and how we are going to place the concrete, the same as that thing here also we'll do the same, but entire reinforcement which is continuous from first end to the last end without providing any proper joints. Okay. And here in this continuously reinforced concrete pavements, that is CRCP, so which is a type of concrete pavements that does not require any transfer contraction joints. So here the transfer cracks which are expected in the slab usually at the intervals of 1.5 to 6 feet. So here nowhere you can see the transfer joints here, right? But here you can see the longitudinal joints, but the transfer joints what it will come at the horizontal portion. So that transverse joints it is not required here, because since it is a continuous one, it can bear that entire load which is provided by this continuous reinforcements. And next one, that is pre-stressed concrete pavements. So here you can see the name only, it indicates that pre-stressed concrete pavements, in the sense this particular road pavements, I mean the portions of the roads what you can see here. So this one it has been prepared in the particular factory, right? So in that factory, so as per the design concepts, they are going to manufacture this portions of this pavements, and then they are going to transfer that one to the required location, and then they are going to place that one wherever it is required, right? And here this particular precast concrete system, that is properly an engineered system of the precast concrete, that particular pavement slabs which consisting of the fabricated under controlled conditions. Fabricated in the sense this one is already manufactured under the proper controlled conditions, usually at remote locations, and here interlock or connect with the surrounding pavement slabs, that is made by the load transfer as well as the edge support. And then it should be properly structurally designed with reinforcements and thickness design, and then the transported to and transported, and then it is installed at the project site. So here this whatever the bars and all you can see, so these all reinforcement have been provided in the manufacturing site itself, right? And later after that they have poured the concrete and they have cured that one at the specified days, and then they are going to place that one at the required location. In above type of the rigid pavements, so in the site itself we are going to place the concrete, and then we are going to compact and level those surfaces. But here you can see at the given locations, at the required locations, they are going to place that one entire part of the road cross sectional areas, right? So by using the different erecting equipments, they can be placed that one at the required locations. And here you can see again in the joint part, right? So this particular joining, it can be done by providing a proper grouting part, right? So here you can see the tongue and groove like structures, right? So this acts as a tongue now, whatever the open portion you can see here. So this is not having any proper steel bars, but the same thing in the next picture you can see. So this particular rigid pavement having steel bars here, right? So might be it is with the transverse joints. So in this bars, so it is going to be fixed in this empty portion, right? So later whatever the gap will be get generated, so that one it can be filled by the grouting materials, right? So here you can see how exactly they are going to place that one at the required locations. And this is the exact difference between the flexible pavement and rigid pavement, right? So in the flexible pavement you can see the different layers, that is start with the natural formation and then sub base, base course and surface course, and at last surface dressing. That is, surface dressing is nothing but the leveling surface of the top layer. And here in the rigid pavement you can see the natural formation that is made by the subgrade, and then the sub base will be there, and on top of that the concrete slab. So here you can see only 3 layers can be seen in the rigid pavement, whereas here we can see 4 to 5, depends upon the layer formation. And coming to the next aspect, that is factors affecting the pavement design. So here several factors which will be get effect on this pavement design based upon the following criteria, that is traffic and loading, contact pressure, wheel load, axle configuration, moving loads, and repetition of the loads, and environmental factors. In this, whatever the first point is there, that is traffic and loading. So in this part, traffic and loading, so which is most important factor in the pavement design, and the key factors includes the contact pressure, wheel load, and axle configuration, moving loads, and load and load repetitions. So here what they are going to tell about the traffic in the sense, so depends upon the traffic volume, the design aspects will get vary. If the traffic is more, then that thickness as well as the width of the pavement will get differs, right? And then moving to the next, that is contact pressure. So in contact pressure, whatever the tire pressure is there on the particular pavement layers, that is most important factor, and which determines the contact area and the contact pressure between the wheel as well as the pavement surface. So even though the shape of the contact area is elliptical, for the sake of simplicity in analysis part, a circular area is often considered in the contact pressure. And moving to the next, that is wheel load. So here wheel load, that is the next important factor in the wheel load, that is that determines the depth of the pavement which is required to ensure that the subgrade soil is not filled. And here the wheel configuration that affect the stress distribution and deflection with a particular pavement. And you can see the many commercial vehicles have dual rear wheels, and which ensure that the contact pressure is within the limits. And here the normal practice is to convert the dual wheel into a equivalent single wheel load, so that the analysis is made very simpler in mode. And then the axle configuration. So even axle in the sense the load carrying capacity of the commercial vehicle, which is further enhanced by the introduction of the multiple axles. And then moving loads. So here whatever the damage to the pavement which is much higher if the vehicle is moving at a creep speed, okay. And here many studies which can be already shown that the speed increase from 2 kilometer per hour to 20 kilometer per hour, the stress deflection which is reduced by 40%. So based upon the different studies, they have concluded that when the speed of the vehicle which is increased from 2 kilometer to 24 kilometer per hour, that is a certain range where whatever the stress will get developed on the particular layer, and the whatever the deflection which is there, that one it can be reduced by 40%. And then repetition of the load. So repetition of the load, how we can say the repetition of the load in the sense, the whatever the influence of the traffic on the pavement, that not only depends upon the magnitude of the wheel load but also depends upon the frequency of the load applications. So each load application which causes some deformations, and the total deformation is summation of all this. This is nothing but what, so if a particular wheel load occupied a particular space of the rigid pavement or flexible pavement, during in that cases, that the total load which is going to apply only on that particular area, right? So during in that cases, that particular place, whatever it will be there on that road pavements, it is undergone with the high stresses, right? So that time you can see the maximum deflection only in that area. And coming to the next factor, that is environmental factor. So in this environmental factors, the which affects the performance of the pavements and causes various damages such as heavy rains and all, might be that erosions can be takes place if we have not provided a proper sloping area on that pavement layers. And during in the pavement design, especially at the flexible pavements, during in the summer seasons and all, that binding material called bitumen, right? So that bitumen, it is going to be melt, and then if that load is applied on that particular melted area, and then we can see the maximum deformations in that area. Like that, even the environmental aspects also, which gives much, which affects much with respect to pavement design concept.